at this time, I wanted to hear one song, and it's this song called Used to This, and it's by Maverick City. And it's basically like about if this is a glimpse of heaven, I could get used to this, which is like a crazy song to listen to when you're in the throes of labor. But it's what I've sung to both my babies now that she's here, but I sang it to my son. And it was also like a really good reminder for me when I was in throes of postpartum with both of them, because it was like, I waited for 2 years for my son. We tried for a long time, and he was such a blessing when he finally came. I just wanted to continually remind myself that there was, on its hardest day, it was what I wanted.
Welcome to the podcast, you guys. This week's reviewer of the week is Kennedy Lace. She says, pure enjoyment. I listened to this podcast my entire pregnancy with my first. It inspired me to use midwifery care, hire a doula, and prepare for birth. I had an episode going at all times, absorbing as much information as possible. This podcast empowered me and equipped me to make my birth the experience that I wanted. I was able to have an unmedicated, incredible birth at a birth center and owe so much of my education to this podcast. I recommend it to everyone. So thank you, Kennedy, for tuning in and for leaving an awesome review. It's reviews like this that just make my heart smile, because that's the whole point. It's all about the empowerment. It's not about where you give birth or how you do it, but that you have a say in it and you understand the process and you're part of it. So that is really, really neat. Today, I have Rachel with me, and we have a birth story for you guys. So Rachel, say hello to everybody. Tell us a little bit about you and your family, where you're from, and then let's dive in.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel. I am living currently in Michigan. We are a fun family of two, under two. My son is almost 2, and then my daughter is about 8 months. So just really enjoying the joys and the chaos of, young kids and all that entails.
Yeah, that's awesome. So is this MEB baby 1 or 2?
This baby, I actually used the birth first for both babies. But
Yay, that's so fun.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. But we're hearing about your most recent birth today, yes?
Yes.
Okay, Perfect. So let's jump into your pregnancy. And if you want to just talk a little bit about that, was there anything, just tell us about your pregnancy, just in general.
So a little bit of a surprise. I was 6 months postpartum, and it was my first cycle. And surprise for me, my husband was thrilled. I was very happy too, but it was still shocking. Pregnancy was great. I don't really get too much morning sickness after about 12 weeks. And just really the hardest part was having a small toddler that was learning how to walk. And he's also very big. He's always been like 90th and up percentile. So he's just like a big boy. So to carry him around while being very, very pregnant was a little difficult at times. So we have a lot of stairs. Then around 37 weeks, Delilah was still sitting breech. So that was really scary and had a lot of anxiety around it. Just trying to prepare myself when I had been mentally preparing for a home birth since around 12 weeks. And then possibly considering the fact that might not go the way that I envisioned it. So that was challenging and created a little bit of anxiety, but I leaned on my, community and leaned on you guys and just tried to wrap my head around potentially having to birth Breech. I think it was right around the time that you had Dr. Stu. Is it Dr. Stu? You had him on your podcast, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like, I just literally am going through this, and he's talking about it, and it was just really helpful and brought my mind a lot of peace. So, and my midwives the whole time just were totally on board, and they just said, whatever happens, we'll figure it out and we'll get there. So, and they had faith the whole time that she would turn head down, but she just had a different plan. And, but yeah, so pregnancy was great for the most part. I was pretty blessed with that. Other than the anxiety at the end there.
Yeah. Curious then, just based off a couple of things you said, with your first baby, was that a hospital birth or did you have that baby in a birth center at home?
So crazy. My husband goes north and south for work. So my maternity care, like my care changed at 35 weeks. So I couldn't switch like providers that late in my pregnancy and go home birth. Like I just didn't, I probably could have. I just didn't feel comfortable because I didn't have anybody around me where we were going. If we were coming back home, I would have figured something out. But we were going to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and it's a really small community there. And so I just didn't feel comfortable having a home birth without like knowing more, you know? But my sister had a home birth. Actually, she had two. So I was comfortable with the idea of home birthing. I just wasn't comfortable in that, like in that pregnancy because of our circumstances. But it was a hospital birth. Crazy story, but to recap it quickly, I went in for a routine cervical check like they do, and I had high blood pressure. I think surrounding the cervical check, I just had like white coat syndrome. They sent me straight to the hospital. All of my labs were normal, but like I had one midwife that just like would not like allow me to, you know, make my own choices. She basically told me that if I went home, I was going to kill my baby. You know, we've all heard that story. And I then had a little, I'm getting a little emotional, but I had a little bit of a meltdown, regrouped, and then fired her from my birth. And we did an induction for him. I just did like, I think it was like Sourdough and misoprostol, and then my labor jump started on its own. I was 41 and 5, so I was there. And then I had him in 6 hours. So
Wow.
from like, yeah, so from like not dilated at all, at like 10:30 at night, I had him at 4:40 in the morning. It was
Wow.
fast and furious. It was crazy. But my son is the same way. His personality is like that. He's just go, go, go. So anyways, he had a true nut too, which is a wild story, wild part of that. But yeah, we're not talking about him. Um,
I mean, all the birth stories are awesome, you know?
Yeah, they are. They're so cool. But I remember, you know, listening to your podcast, like leading up to having him. And I also like bought the birth course with my first. So I was, you know, sharing the information with my husband. And what I found the most valuable from the course was actually like the education of it all. So being a first time mom, like you don't really know Adam from Eve. And I appreciated that, like, it went through everything, right? Like it wasn't just like, this is if you were having a natural birth, but it was like, you know, if you end up in this situation, this could happen. And it was like, you know what? I'm the type of person that I have less stress if I have all of the cards in front of me and I can see them. So that was super, super helpful for me.
That's awesome. I am that person too. That's why, yes. So you dive in and you love all the education and you need all the
Hmm.
information. And it is helpful. It is helpful when you get in that situation because you're like, okay, I've looked at all of these different
Right.
avenues and now I can make a decision. So
And
totally
I felt
agree.
empowered enough to be like, I'm sorry, but like, I'm not comfortable with you coming back in my room. And I just like told the nurses and was like, I don't want to see her again. And I'd see her in the hallway and I just would like third eyes. I was like, I don't want to,
Yeah.
like, I don't know what to do, but like, I really just don't want to have any conversations with you. Like, she wouldn't come into the room and tell me herself, but she was like, you're staying the night and you're being induced through the nurse. And then when I asked her to come in and talk to me about it, she like just didn't want to educate me at all on what was going on. She just wanted me to accept it. And she was a midwife. I was
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
I'm mind blown. Like, what?
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
good for you though.
the decision was clear for me, going into our second. Like I said, I was 12 weeks and I was like, we're here. We are building our community in our new, like, we moved to Michigan when my son was about 4 months. And I was like, I know we're going to be here. So I'm having a home birth. And my husband was a little, you know, on the fence at first,
They can be.
but with some educating and, you know, bringing him to a couple appointments, he gained some, what's the word I'm looking for? He gained some education on it, I guess. And
Yeah.
he was more confident.
Yeah.
So
That's
now
awesome.
he says he wouldn't do it any other way.
Yeah. My husband too. Exactly.
Yeah,
Once you do it, there's no turning back. That's true.
there's no,
Okay,
for sure.
question for you then. The other thing that you mentioned was you said this baby, most current baby, at around 37 weeks was still breech, and your
Hmm.
midwives who were out of hospital were like, however it goes, we'll work with it. Are
Yeah.
you able to give breech, are Michigan midwives able to attend breech births out of hospital?
So far as I know, yeah, they,
Wonderful.
my midwives, the group that we were using, she was able to educated on it. And actually, the group that we used, they are working with other local midwife groups and like educating them on breech births.
This is
So,
beautiful. Yeah.
oh, it's amazing. Like, yeah, it's great.
I just recently shared it on this podcast with my midwifery friend, actually, that here in Florida, it's completely
Hmm.
illegal. So you have to
Yeah.
cross state lines, and I'm like, and that's such there's so many problems around that because now they're not going to learn about it either. So now people
Hmm.
won't know how to do it safely. So now
Right.
you just like cascade the awfulness. So, okay. So talk to me about midwifery care this time, this pregnancy. You said from about 12 weeks, this was your
Hmm.
plan. So did you start
Hmm.
off this pregnancy with traditional OB care or midwifery in the hospital care? What did that look like? And when did you switch and why?
So actually, my sister-in-law delivered both of her babies with this OBGYN. And so I was new to the area and I was like, let me get her name. Like, you obviously liked her. You had natural births she had epidurals. But I was like, it seems like a good route that I could go. So I went and met her. She was nice. She was really nice. And I still go to her for my routine exams. So I have nothing like bad to say about it. It was just not the type of care that I wanted. I was looking for something that felt more like home. Not like home birth, but like, I mean, you meet with people and people can feel like home too to me, you know? And it just felt very like just space, you know? It's like, I'm going to give you just enough, but not anything more, you know? So I did a little research on my area. I found a really great group here. And I met with them one time, and I'm telling you, like, my one visit that I had with the OBGYN, she, like I said, was great, super friendly, nice, but like in, out, you know, do the business and go. And then my first appointment with my midwife, of course, which we all know this story too, is like I'm in a room with like 6 women who have all birthed and home birthed. And like it feels like I'm walking into a room with my sisters or like I'm in a room with my family. And like they're just there to support me and meet me. And I was like, wow, like what a different experience. And everyone's like, do you have any questions? Like, what can we do to make you more comfortable? Like, do you like providing me with all this information, like education, like, and you're just like, whoa, like night and day on like what is provided, you know, and the cost is like significantly different. Um, I mean, it all ends up, you know, how it ends up, but it was just, it felt like coming home, you know, and I never lacked the confidence in them. I don't know how to explain that other than that.
It's why I tell everybody, like, you don't have to birth out of the hospital, but you should go interview an out of hospital midwife. Just see
Right.
how you're treated and how you feel.
And then our group also, so I had the option because the group that we went with, it's West Michigan Midwifery, and they actually just opened a birth center in Norton Shores, Michigan. So like just down the street from us, like it's 45 minutes. If I wanted to, or if my husband didn't feel comfortable, they also had that option. So it was like, you know what, like this could be really good. If for whatever reason I feel like I'm not comfortable anymore, I can switch to the birthing center and like maybe I'd have that confidence. But I just never, I was like, no, like this is it, you know? So it went really well. So
That's awesome. Okay, so now let's get into the like 37 weeks, baby's still breech. Everybody's fine. Like, how did you feel about giving birth to a breech baby if you needed to? Was that ever a concern for you?
of course, I was terrified at first. I cried a lot. I had a lot of anxiety about it. And like we talked about earlier, like education is power for me. So I just started like I was looking at Dr. Sue, I was listening to your podcast. I was looking for like videos of like breech births, like how they like turn baby and position them to pull them out, like things. Obviously, I was doing all the things in order to flip her. So I was going to chiropractic care. I hadn't done spinning babies yet, but I was going to, I had that planned, right? Because we were sort of hoping that she would just do it on her own. But if it came down to it, I was like, let's see what I can do. So doing inversions, like all the things that I knew to do, I was trying to do them. And then like part of me was like also like talking to my daughter, like trying to just like have conversations with her, like, hey, like I just want this peaceful and serene entrance into the world for you. Like, can you just like do me this small favor, please? And like it didn't, I feel like she didn't actually like listen until I started like paying attention to her. So like I don't know if that's just my own view, but I feel like sometimes these like we get so busy like in our lives that we forget these are like tiny people in there, right? And her personality is very much like she wants, like I feel like she just wants my attention. Like she wants me to look at her, she wants me to speak to her, like. And so with her, I felt like once I started like spending nightly time with her where I was like, hey, like let's spend a little bit together, like let's talk, let's meditate, like let's picture what this is going to look like and what you're going to look like and what our relationship is going to be. um so that was a cool part of it. But in terms of like preparing for breech birth, like I definitely like went down a rabbit hole and was like trying to wrap my head around it. I spoke to my midwives about it several times, like just like how comfortable are you? Like, are we there yet? Or we need to like worry about this? Like, what's the plan? I had lots of fear in my mind about like, well, did I do something wrong that maybe she's not flipping because of like something's wrong with her? Like these are all things that like go through your mind as, I don't know, I feel like a pregnant person where you're just like afraid of all this stuff. And thankfully, like I do lean on my faith a lot. And I was just praying, like, you know, like, God, I'm just going to squash all this anxiety because I know what it is, you know, like, yeah, it was just, I definitely mentally was preparing to do it if I had to. I did not want to have a C-section. Not that it's terrible. I understand that, you know, it happens for some women, but like I was terrified of it. So that was another aspect of fear for me that I just had to surrender to the whole situation.
Yeah, that all makes sense. What point did your baby finally turn? And did you feel it?
So
Did you know what happened?
yeah, I mean, she was like this all the time. But so I went to there's a local doula here who does spinning babies, and she brings you into the office and she does like the whole routine. Like she schedules you for like 4 hours if she needs to, and we just like work through it over and over again until we notice like baby does do something, right? So we met up and we literally like she laid me down and she's like, Rachel, how many babies have you had? I'm like, just one. She's like, you have like your baby, like she just has room in there. Like she's just like, she's like, I push on your belly and she just does what I ask her to. She's like, it's crazy. Like I don't know how many people I've experienced this with. And I was like, okay, great. Awesome. So we do like one spinning babies routine, and she's like, from what I can tell, she's down. And so we did a walk around the block, and we were two crazy ladies on the side of the sidewalk, and she's hugging me from behind, like picking up baby and putting her in my pelvis, you know.
Right.
And like these ladies are waving at us across the street. I'm like, hi, giant pregnant woman, you know. It was really cute. Good memories for, you
Yeah.
know, a later date when I'm talking to Delilah and telling her about her birth story. But from what I could tell, I think she stayed down. We belly banded and like tried to like keep her snug in there. And then I had an appointment later that week, I think like three or 4 days later, and she was head down and she stayed that way. So it was like 37 and a half, almost 38 weeks.
Awesome.
Which is crazy because had I been with a normal provider, like who knows what have happened.
I can tell you what would have happened. And you would have scheduled an induction and they would have offered you an ECV, you know, late term.
Yep.
And it would have been fairly traumatic and maybe baby would have moved or stayed. And, you know, it's tricky. That's awesome. I love that. And you brought up too, I want to highlight that. I love that you went so deep into it actually, because I do think it gets kind of pushed to the wayside a little bit, but the talking with your baby is huge. I am a firm believer of that. We are so connected. And don't you feel it when you were pregnant that it is not just me? There is a little spirit inside of me. It is not just me and my body right now. It is
1,000%.
Yeah, so strong. And so, yes, they are these little spirits. And what's funny too, and you've had two now, so you know the truth of this, is they are who they are when they get to you. They are their own people.
Yep.
And I think when I had my second, I expected that second one to be my first. You know, it was just like, I'm going to have a baby again.
Yep.
And you're like, the moment you meet them, you're like, you are somebody else. You are your own person. And
you're going to make me cry.
It's making me cry. It's so spiritual and it's so incredible. And you're just like, anyway, so when you're talking about like talking to your baby and having these moments, it's like, you really can. You really, really can. And that's something that I don't know if you ended up in our resource section for breech babies. It's one of the things that I talk about in there is talking to your baby. And I'm like, I know it
Yeah.
sounds silly, but talk to your baby. And I did the same thing. And my baby, it was like 35, 36, 37 weeks around that time as well that my baby turned breech, my third. And one of the things that I believe was very helpful was connecting with my baby and
Yeah.
talking to
I
them about
just,
the experience.
it was like, I think she just literally was like, you're spending too much time with my brother. Like, he's gotten a lot of attention. Like, it's my turn.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. Like, and just like knowing the difference in their two personalities, like now that I know her, it's like her labor, like his labor being as long as it was, hers was 16 hours, but it didn't feel that way. Like it was just like, it was like she just takes more time. And now knowing her, like even hitting milestones, he was go, go, go. She's very like, just like, chill. It's so different. But they definitely like, they just want to connect.
Oh, that was really cool. How about your birth partner, your husband? Let's talk about his role in all of this and what it was like with him and how he supported you.
Josh, one thing I can say about him is he is always cool as a cucumber, right? Except usually when it comes down to his kids. He is like very like he just wants to make sure that we are doing the best possible thing to keep them safe. So in that sense, like it spoke volumes to me that he was willing to like put his faith in me and like trust me through this process, right? He is a great birth partner in the room. Like leading up to it, he just puts up with like me and my, pregnancy. We've all been there. We get pregnant and the hormones surge and it's tiny babies and overstimulation, and he's just very patient with me, and he, just never like give me a hard time. And then in the birth room, in terms of support, like he helped blow up my pool, and he sat there and held my hand, and I have all these pictures of him like with a fan in his hand, and he's just like, I remember with my first, like one of my favorite memories of him was like he was just like right next to me constantly, but like he just would say like, you're doing so great, and like I'm so proud of you, and like you're my queen, and like things like that you're just like in that moment you're like, yeah, whatever, right? But then like afterwards, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just, I don't know, reaffirms the love that you have for each other. I feel like um when you lean on each other in these like really hard moments. Yeah, I just love that guy.
I love that. Were there things you mentioned that you had him? Did you say you had him watch the birth course with you, or you told him about certain things, or how was he involved that way? And then what kind of things did you guys do to prepare together?
In terms of the birth course, I would like dog ear pages, and then I'd like pass him the book and give him his time to read it, which we all know how that goes. Most times he didn't, but he did listen to me, and I talk a lot. So there wasn't much that like I would learn that he wouldn't have to listen to and hear about.
Awesome.
So anytime that like the whole podcast where I listened about Dr. Stu, like he heard all about it, like because I just talked his ear off and he listened. So even if he didn't read, he definitely heard all of it, and he's a great listener. And I know that he, like obviously if what I had said did not resonate with him, or he didn't stash it like the way that he protects our children, I know he would have like had more anxiety about it. But I think knowing that I was like claws in, like trying to figure this out, he had like the confidence that we were going to get through it. And I would make whatever decision I had to make in the situation if it came down to that. And then in terms of like preparing, we had a doula. So she came by, and he honestly, like he was helping me do, gosh, what's the word? Like all of like
The hip
the,
squeeze?
yes, the hip squeezes, like he'd help me on the sides of the bed, or he would do, for spinning the baby when you are on the edge of the bed, what's this one called? Sideline release.
Yes. Sideline release.
Side
Yeah.
Sideline release. So we would do sideline releases together, and then we'd argue about like who knew the proper position. Wait, you're not doing that right. Like, get closer to me. Oh, no, you're too far away. Come here. I feel unsupported. No,
That's
you're supposed to feel
awesome.
that way. I watched a video on this. It's like,
That's
ah,
awesome.
how do you know? Like, you're not in my body,
Yeah.
silly stuff like that. But yeah, like I remember when I gave him the job of the line release, he like went on YouTube and was like watching videos of like how to properly position himself. And then that was a lot of fun. Um, so yeah, he was a great support in those moments and definitely helped with all that.
Awesome.
So, and then as birth support later in the day, and this I can tell you now, but when we were getting the tub ready, our hot water was so hot. I'm in the middle of labor. I think I was like almost fully dilated at home, and he had to run to the gas station and get like 3 bags of ice
Oh my gosh.
to bring our pool down to temp.
I love it.
So that was birth support.
Yeah. Yeah. There's so many background things that happen that make a birth. Yes.
Crazy. Anyways.
Okay, how about your preparation? What were like the daily things that you were doing, or the weekly things, or like the mental prep and the physical prep? What were those things that you really did to prepare this time?
I believe firmly in preparing your mental space for getting through like labor and contractions, meditation, prayer, like whatever it is, worship, whatever it is that you do, you have to like find a way to like step into that separate space and kind of exit, in my opinion, like exit your space so that you can like focus on like making it through the waves, right? Something I like wrote down that I like wanted to say was like, I've always done when I wasn't pregnant, like I always did interval training with workouts, and I like kind of see labor as like the same as that. Like it's 45 seconds to a minute, right? So if you can run it all out at 45 seconds to a minute, like, and just like push yourself as hard as you can, like just imagine like that's what a contraction is. Like it's short lived, like you're going to get to the peak of it, it's going to add back down, and then, you'll get a little break in between, which is, to me, like helps me to be like, okay, I can do anything for 45 seconds. I can do anything for a minute. And I actually follow this other doula on Instagram, and she talked about preparing by putting ice in a bowl and sticking your hand in it and seeing how long you can like endure that like intensity of like how cold that gets on your hand. And then like that's one way you can like train your brain to like make it through. So like I did a little bit of that. I did a little bit of meditation. Obviously, like with my first birth, I was able to do a lot more. With my second and my son running around like crazy, it was a little bit harder to do more of the mental stuff until the end when I like really had to make it a priority. So I did that, and I would like set my birth space the way that I liked it. So I would turn the lights the way that I liked them, and I would turn on like meditation music, and I would sit on my labor ball, and I would just like put on my headphones and just like focus in for, even if it's just 5 minutes, it was like helpful. Another thing that I would do is obviously you take your prenatals, but like something that my sister in one of her labors had a premature rupture of membrane. And so after talking to her and her experience, she told me that she ended up taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day with her second and third pregnancies. She never had it happen again. And in fact, with both of hers, like her water had to be broken. Like it was just her bag of waters was so strong. And I'm saying this because it's going to come back into this birth story. But with my son, even I did that, and my water didn't break until I was 10 centimeters. Like, so it both times, like I never had my water break early, and I attribute it to that. I know there's some scientific research to it. I encourage people to look into it if you're wondering ways to, help for next time. But I definitely like did that. So I'd take my vitamin C, my prenatals. I would take Ultramen vitamins just to like, make sure that I was, doing all that. And of course, eating well and trying to stay hydrated. Water was big. So, stuff like, and walking, lots of walking.
Oh, good. Walking is, that's top of the list. I love that. Okay. Not to like bring you all the way back here, but I know that other moms are going to want to know because this is coming up even a lot recently within the Facebook group. And just since you did happen to get pregnant 6 months most postpartum, and you mentioned that just a minute ago, will you talk about what that was like for you a little bit? You talked about like the, I'm sure the
shock.
overwhelm, like having a little one and trying and being pregnant again and stuff. But just kind of mentally, emotionally, physically, what that was like, and any advice you have for moms on that, or words of
So
comfort, maybe.
yeah, no, of course. So my very first thing that I did, and I like laugh about it now, but like I was obviously terrified, but I put my hand on the wall and I looked up at God and I was like, do you think that you're funny? Like, is this funny? Like, you think this is hilarious, don't you? Like, this is a joke. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. Like, fear was, but honestly, that's the first feeling you get when you get pregnant in the first place, anyways. I feel like everyone's a little bit scared. And then um, I went through and I just reached out to really all my friends who had two under two or like very close siblings. And I was like, talk to me about this. Like, what am I walking into? What's going to happen? Is what I'm feeling normal? Or like, anyways, everyone that has done it has had nothing but good things to say. And if you've ever reached out to anybody that's done it, they're going to say, you know what? Like, I wouldn't do it any other way because yeah, I went postpartum into pregnancy and like, was that probably a whirlwind on my body? Yeah, but now I'm coming out of it. And like, my kids are like super close. And my son loves his sister and he's learning how to share, but he's little, he'll get there. And in the beginning, were there hard days? Absolutely. But you kind of like get the swing of things. You find the ways to make things work, whether it's, holding one, holding both. Learning, you just learn your shortcuts and it's like you learn your shorthand in anything and you figure out a way to make it through. And I mean, I will give credit. I've had a lot of help. Because I mean, I think community is important. My mother-in-law, my husband's mom, she has been irreplaceable, like for both of my kids. And I don't know what I would do without her. So coming from like my family, my mom passed when we were really young. So she's just been a huge blessing for us. And for me. And I would be remiss without saying that. So Pam, you're amazing and I love you. And if you ever watch this, I hope you get to this part. But do it. Like if you're scared, if you're thinking about it, like if you don't let the fear win in this situation because you won't regret it. Like I don't think you can ever really have big regrets with kids. Other than like maybe not preparing yourself, but like when are you ever ready anyways? Yeah, I would encourage people to do it. It's great. Other way around. Kids are great. They're always a blessing.
Thank you for sharing that. Did you happen to, did you breastfeed once you got pregnant? And what was that like if you did?
I tried. I really, really tried. And my milk just like dried up, which was another heartbreaking part of the story. I wanted to breastfeed my son until he was one, at least. And like, it was like, we went on this trip. I was pregnant. I got really sick after the trip. And then the sickness combined with the like pregnancy hormones, like my milk just went to like 2 ounces a day. And I was like, no. So that is best, right? And I did a little bit of formula. And then I actually was able to find a donor around me. And she like was able to give me like 80 to like 120 ounces a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
and she
wonderful.
fed Jude until he was 15 months. So 6
Wow.
months. Yeah. 6 to 8 months to like 15 months.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad I asked that because I'm so glad that women get to hear that. That's so
Yeah.
cool. I love that.
So she was really great. And we'd meet once a week. She'd give me 2 giant bags of breast milk and I would just bring it home and I would thaw it and feed him. And he did really well on it. Like in the beginning, he had some spit up, but like honestly, both of my kids like didn't really spit up a ton. They didn't have a lot of reflux. And he transitioned to it really well. And her and I, we talked from time to time and it was great because her daughter was around the same age as Jude. So it was like, he was still getting like the nutrient, like they say breast milk changes as your kid ages. Well, like their birthdays were like 2 weeks apart.
That's
so like
so
the nutrient,
cool.
Yeah, it was really neat. And so that was a cool part of our story.
I love that. Okay.
And I'm still breastfeeding Delilah. So
yay. Okay.
Still
so
ongoing.
cool, Rachel. That's so neat.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Since we are here for a birth story, Shall we dive in?
Let's do
Yes.
it.
Tell me all the things.
This is the easy part. It was,
I know.
like all of that was like eventful. Her birth was like the easiest part of all of this.
Well, and did you do anything leading up to like labor to help like encourage things? Did you do any like red raspberry leaf or evening primrose
Oh, of
oil or like
course.
you did all that stuff? Okay.
So I did red raspberry leaf tea. I probably didn't do it as much as I did with my first. Um, but I did find like even if I don't know whether it's the misoprostol that made my labor so fast with my son, or if it was the dates and the red raspberry leaf tea and all of that. But like, how do we like we don't really have the scientific research on all of that, but I did it anyways. The red raspberry leaf tea, I just think strongly supports your uterus, so I did do that. And I found that bleeding was normal, and I felt like my body felt supported, and I'm sure it was good for me. So I did that. One of my midwives did tell me something that I didn't know previously, but she told me that the red raspberry, and I don't have the scientific research on this, so release me if you've heard something else. But she told me that if you steep the tea for an hour, it's best. So it's like steep the tea for an hour and then drink it, then you get like the full benefit of the red raspberry leaf tea. Not
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. I haven't heard that, but I love it.
I hadn't either.
That's true. So now I want to look into it. So it
Yeah.
can't hurt, Yeah.
And then the dates I didn't get around to as much, but I dabbled here and there. I mean, I tried. I did a lot of walking. Like I said, we would go for walks around our neighborhood, like as much as we could. I have a lot of stairs in my house, so I was up and down the stairs. I think like lunges and squats are like the best way to like try to encourage things. And then I also was going to the chiro, so they were doing trigger points on my ankles, which was really great. The day that I went into labor, actually, I like think she dropped into my pelvis when Jude went to go like my son went to go like towards this little set of stairs, and he hadn't quite mastered them yet, so I was like panicky, like, don't do that. And when I moved, I was like, whoa. Like I felt like her head just like locked into my pelvis and was like, hey, you getting ready to do this? And I was like, I guess we are. So that night we went to my husband's work. My son, played at his job for a few minutes. And then as a family, we all went to Olive Garden. And my chiro had joked that morning, like, get the eggplant parm if you go anywhere Italian tonight. And I was like, you know what, let's give it a try. So I had the eggplant parm and I didn't think anything else of it. And I went to bed, and lo and behold, 3:30 in the morning, I start having like regularly timed, like period crampy contractions. I let them go on for about an hour, like an hour and a half. I was like, I don't want to like, alarm everyone just yet, but let's see what goes on here. So they were regularly timed, and as I like ebb and flowed in between sleep, they would like slow down. If I like woke up and paid attention to them, they'd like stay closer together. But I was like, you know what? I just need to rest. So at like 4:30, I'd say it was like 3 that they started. Around 4:30, I shot text to like my midwives, my doula, told my husband that he probably needed to think about the idea of possibly staying home tomorrow because there was a chance this continued. And then there's a chance that it stops altogether. So we just don't know. Everyone responded. I texted my sisters. Get up in the morning. My son always gets up at 7. So we got up. We start making breakfast. Things are still continuing. It was more intense, obviously, as I was walking and standing and making breakfast and, picking him up and doing all the things you do as a mom. Actually, I baked 2 sourdough loaves that morning.
That's amazing.
Because I was like, if I hear I'm going into labor, we're going to need bread this week. So I was like, got to get this bread in the oven, otherwise it's going to go bad. So we baked some sourdough, and then by like 8:30, I was like, you know what? These are pretty intense, and I feel like I need to like focus in on them, right? I need to like just spend time here. So my mother-in-law at the time was living with us, and she usually starts with my son at like 9 a.m. So she'll watch him, and I'll work usually. But being that was the day that things were progressing, she took over around 8:30 with him, and I went up to my room. I had started to lose my mucus plug at that point. Like I had gone to the bathroom a few times, and I hadn't lost anything. I hadn't had any signs of anything happening until like then. And I was like, oh, okay, so this is really happening. So I sent another text to everybody and just said, hey, updating you all. People are like, how far apart are your contractions? I'm like, I honestly don't know because I've been running around, but I'm about to go upstairs and spend some time with myself and kind of see where we're at. So I go upstairs. My doula, I think, got here. I want to say she got to the house around like 11. Um, so I was upstairs. Um, Maybe midwife showed up around then too. Started doing like blood pressure, checking me out, make sure things are good. But they were like 5 to 6 minutes apart when I was like sending messages to have everyone come in. So I went upstairs. I was really comfortable in on my birthing ball, like just leaning over it with like my forearms together, like leaning on the ball and my head to the side and just like swaying with my knees on the ground. So belly just felt like it um had gravity's help, but also like didn't feel this much pressure, I felt like. Um so with my doula, we just rotated positions. My husband started getting the tub ready until the midwives were there, and then they helped too. We had everything pre-set up in our house for when this happened. So I had a little corner with like everything in it. I had the tarp down, like folded over with the pool in there as well. So I had them all kind of like rolled up against the wall. So my husband just had to roll it out and then inflate the pool, and the hose was already connected to the shower in our other bathroom. So he pulled that over, started that up. And then really everything was just like ready. My doula was really great. She brought in some really beautiful like string lights, and she brought a TENS unit and some really great aromatherapy, um, essential oils. And then I prepared by doing hot and cold towels. So I put some towels in my fridge, which I found the cold ones were best with like peppermint. And I like stuck them in there like weeks before just so that, when it came around to it, we could just pull out what we needed. So all of those things sort of helped through those like early stages of early active labor. My doula was really incredible about encouraging changing positions. So we would go from being like leaning on the ball to laying sideline release. We would go to the bathroom and do, where you sit on the toilet. Funny story there. Like I'm in the middle of active labor and like all I can hear is my cat, which like you met him a little earlier. Literally he was like outside my door, like screaming. Like he was like, what is going on in there? He couldn't take it. And then so I'm like, Josh, like take the cat, please just do something with the cat. And like I remember this, like he moved him to the laundry room, which is just below my bathroom,
Oh, no.
as I'm like sitting on the toilet, like laboring, and all I can hear is this cat still, and he's just howling. It was really funny. But I was like, just let him out, let him do his own thing, leave the door open, like let him wander in and out. He's gonna be fine. It's like so funny. So continued to labor. I had breakfast that morning. I don't remember what I ate, but I know I ate something, maybe like yogurt and a banana. That's like typically what I go for, like a high protein yogurt. And then I had a snack like around, I want to say it was like 1:30. I had a fruit bar and a banana. And by like 2:30, it all came up. And I was like, well, I guess we're transitioning. And I could feel, obviously, that the contractions were more intense. I was in the labor pool by this point. So once that was all set up and ready to go, I moved into that. And quite frankly, I didn't move. My doula kept encouraging me to get up. And I just knew that if I got out of that water and gravity did its thing, I was going to have this baby. And I just wasn't quite ready to like go into the pushing stages of her coming out. So 2:00, we just start enjoying ourselves. We stayed in the pool. I had what was called, I don't know if you've seen them, but with my son, I just did a comb, and I loved my comb. I talk about it in his first story over and over again about like how committed I was to that comb. Well, with my daughter, I had, they're called the labor weapon, and they're like acupuncture wood balls. and you hold them in each hand. And I just, during contractions, I would just squeeze on those things and whatever. And, I'd rub them on my legs or like rub them on my face, like whatever I needed to do to like kind of like keep me present and grounded. So that was really great. Yeah, we continued on, and it was like probably 4:30 or like 5 o'clock, somewhere in there. Um, I was feeling like, okay, I'm ready to do this. Like, let's get this moving. Water still hadn't broken yet, so I'm just like going with the flow. And anybody that's ever been in a home birth situation, your midwives aren't like coming in and being like, "How's it going?" or like checking you or any of that stuff. They're just kind of like, "You're doing great. Like you're doing everything right. Just keep doing what you're doing and let us know if you need us." But it was just very like, we're supporting you, but like you do what your body is telling you to do, and that is great with us. They would come in and monitor her heart rate and make sure that she was still, doing well, which she always was. Thankfully, thank God. I know some people have different experiences, and I don't want to like, say that my situation happens for everyone, because it doesn't. We were very blessed, and that is not lost on me. So around 5 o'clock, the whole time I'm listening to like meditation music, but at this time I wanted to hear one song, and it's this song called "Used to This," and it's by Maverick City, and it's basically like about like, if this is a glimpse of heaven, I could get used to this, which is like a crazy song to listen to when you're in the throes of labor. But it's what I've sung to both my babies now that she's here, but I sang it to my son, and it was also like a really good, I'm going to cry, a really good reminder for me when I was in throes of postpartum with both of them, because it was like, I waited for 2 years for my son. We tried for a long time, and he was such a blessing when he finally came. So I just wanted to continually remind myself that there was, on its hardest day, it was what I wanted. So I listened to that song, and then we like went into the final stages of labor, which was really great. I got up on my knees, and my midwives were like, "Do you want to? You can try and push. You don't have to. Don't feel pressured. But if you feel like you want to," and I got a little pushy when I got on my knees, so I gave it a couple goes. I actually, with my first couple pushes, pushed out like my bag of water, just like in a balloon. So that was like, I reached down and I was like, okay, like it's not breaking, but it's there. I don't feel her head. So then I flipped over and they checked me, and she was like, yeah, your water's still intact. She's bouncing around in there. So, and my sister had a similar story with her third. So they actually worked together on it and decided to break her labor, or break her water. So I was like, you know what? Like, let's just do this. I know that once we break my water, she's going to come shortly after that. So she reached down, she broke it. She said it was extremely hard to break my amniotic sac. Like, it was really strong. She's like, I've never experienced anything like this. Is crazy. So then she did that, and probably within like, I think it was like 30 or 40 minutes, my daughter was here. So yeah, she was born at 7:10. And with her first push, I pushed her up to like the ridge of her nose. And then second push was her whole head. And then the third and final push was the rest of her body. And it was beautiful. Like, it's just like, I always joke that she arrived just in time to see her brother before bedtime. Like, she knew what she was doing. She just wanted to meet him and send him to bed, I guess. But it was just so beautifully uneventful that, like, I don't know. Yeah, it was just great. My placenta came out shortly after that. She's beautiful, 10 fingers, 10 toes, but placenta came out shortly after that. And they joked about how large it was. And I took a shower within like, I did obviously my golden hour with baby on me. And then I wanted to, cleanse all the pool things off of me. So I took a quick shower in my own shower and quickly brushed my teeth and got into my own bed and had my doula feeding me yogurt while I was breastfeeding my brand new baby. And then Like people always wonder, like, oh, like, what about all that stuff in your house? It's like, well, honestly, the midwives took care of everything. Like there was nothing left. I mean, the stuff that they didn't use, they put back in the corner where I had it previously. The tarp, the pool they provided, which they cleaned and took with them. The tarp, they just folded it back up against the wall. But like, I mean, towels, they started a little laundry. Um, like I don't have any stains on anything in my house that was left behind. Like there's no evidence that I birthed the baby here. um, yeah, my mother-in-law got to meet her granddaughter within, 30 minutes of her being born, which is like pretty awesome. She just like walked into the birthing room and like saw her, and that was a really cool experience, just it felt again like coming home, it's such a different experience. Like I was almost a little hesitant because when I was planning to do this, I like only ever told my husband this. So everybody that's listening, like, don't judge me for this, but like there's a little bit of excitement to the fact of like having a new baby and like everybody being excited for you, like, oh, your baby's so beautiful. And the nurses and the doctors all come in and tell you how wonderful your child is. And it's like, that's a good feeling that we have, right? Like we're excited and we're proud and we love that feeling. And I was like a little like, oh, I'm not going to get that. And like, I only thought about this like 7 months postpartum. I was like, I never even missed that. Like in that moment, I didn't even think about it, didn't even care. Like, didn't even like, I don't even know why it was a big deal to me in my head then. Like, I don't know why but literally it didn't even cross my mind. And I mean, I hesitate telling the story even now because it just feels like so dreamy. And I know other people have different experiences. And I don't want to like ever make someone feel like, I don't know. Education is everything. And I think the more you know, the better you can feel empowered about whatever decisions you make. So it's like, at least if it doesn't end up being the situation that you ideally wanted. So, say, for example, I ended up like in a breech birth C-section situation, at least I had the education to know like where it was headed. I wasn't surprised by anything. Like, and not that surprises are bad, but I feel like we're better able to cope with these things, even postpartum, if we like have a little bit of an understanding of it. I don't know. That's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I
What
mean,
else?
I couldn't agree with you more. It's why I do what I
Yeah.
do. So yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
you're in the right space, I am curious. I know that moms like to know, and if you can remember and describe as best you can, what did your contractions feel like in the beginning? And then what did they feel like as they progressed and all the way through to pushing? If you're able to kind of bring any of that back.
Yeah, of course. I think the beginning stages definitely feel like you're about to get a heavy period. Like in the very beginning, to me, it just was like, okay, I'm going to start my period in the morning. But like, really, I knew like, I'm not starting my period, I'm having a baby. So it's like, I would say in the very beginning, like, and it's not like when you're pregnant, you get a little crampy. Like, these are like more intense. They're not like period cramps. It would be like if you were going to have a heavy period. And if you've had a heavy period, you kind of know what that feels like. If you haven't, it's like, it's a bigger cramp. And then as the day progresses, as I always heard, and I didn't understand it then until you go through it, but like just like most people say, it feels like something you can't think about anything else. Like when you get to that point where you're in active labor, you quite literally, in order to finish that interval of that contraction, because call them interval, call them contractions, call them surges, whatever you want to call them. But in order to make it through it, you have to stop what you're doing and you have to like you can't do anything but go inside. Like you have to go within yourself to bring yourself through it. Like you're not going to be able to carry on conversations when you get to that point. You will in between. I mean, there were full like 3 or 4 minutes in between my contractions during the end stages of labor. And I remember joking with my midwives, and even in my first and second labors, it was like, you're able to feel normal in between them, but just in them, you're gonna very much need to focus on those. So,
And then how about pushing contractions? Was that kind of, were
those
those any
are
different for you?
Absolutely. Those feel, what's the word I'm looking for? They feel animalistic. Like that's the only way I can explain it. Like they feel raw, guttural. Like it just feels like instinct. Your body kicks in, takes over, and you just like your body starts doing it. Like it's a little bit like if you were to be vomiting, like you can't get it out, like other than like your body pushes something out, but it's out of the front. It's the other way. So it just feels a lot like that similar, um, like your body's just doing what it knows to do. And that's kind of how I've explained it to friends.
Yeah,
I know it's
I
kind of
love that.
gross, but
No, not at all. In fact, I think it's helpful to hear it all from all these different ways because then you have a lot to pull from. And it's true, like it's so fun to think about and get excited about and try to envision. But until you're in there, there's really no, even you're describing it as like, there's really not words for it if you haven't experienced it. But for women who have, that does sound familiar, you know? So it is helpful. I'm wondering about coping techniques as well. So you mentioned you had meditation music on, your birth partner was nearby. Were there some hands-on things that you were doing? Were you doing any rocking, swaying, walking? Were you talking to yourself? How about like affirmations, anything like that? How were you coping?
totally. I would say a lot of I had affirmations on my wall. Um, because I was in the tub, a lot of times I would just either lean over and like get through my contractions. Swaying with my partner, we did that a little bit, but I really just found like being in the tub was like my favorite like spot to be. It really helped me feel comfortable. And so that was like big. The hot and cold towels, mainly cold towels, were really, really comforting for me. My doula was great. She would continually like pour water over me in different areas to keep me warm. Like having towels in the dryer, like if I got cold. So like having warm towels to like bring out and throw on me if I got cold, because you do get hot and cold like during labor. So that was really great. Um, she did a lot of hip squeezes on me from like behind, I remember, and that was with my first as well. My sister actually was my doula with my first, which was cool. It wasn't planned that way, but that's how it ended up. And so hip squeezes were always really great. I moo a lot when I'm in labor, and I recommend it. It's just like you just and just like ground yourself with your vocal cords. So try mooing. That's something really great.
That was actually going to be a question is did you make any noise in labor? And
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't remember if during pushing. I'm sure during pushing I did. It's more you black that you kind of don't. You're not really present in that
right.
moment, I feel like, but definitely during labor, I mooed. I call it mooing because it's funny, but
Yeah.
making any sort of like just low sound so that your whole body feels that vibration. I feel like that was really helpful. So,
You moo, I do screaming goats, you know, pick an animal, do a
hey, oh, I
thing.
love that. What does that sound like, Stephanie?
If you've ever heard screaming goats. Have you not heard this story? So during labor, I was making these noises, and my husband leans in, and this is right when it came out, or at least like when it became popular. And so we had just recently listened to it, and I was laughing so hard. And he leans in, and he goes, "You kind of sound like those screaming goats." And then I couldn't unhear it. So then I was laughing, and that caused pain. And then, anyways, and so the next day, so my mother-in-law and my father-in-law were there when I gave birth. The next day, Michael and I are down at the kitchen table and with my father-in-law, and we're watching the screaming goats, you know, and his mom comes down the stairs. She's coming down the stairs. She goes, "You recorded her?" And we were like dying. And I was like, oh, I legitimately did sound. And if you've heard the screaming goats, most of them, that is a little too high pitched. Okay. So I really needed to bring that down and be a little more guttural, which I did later, but it was mostly hilarious. But
Oh, I love
anyway,
that.
so mooing, screaming, you know, whatever. Be a
Love
farm
it.
animal. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, just be a farm animal.
Yeah. All right.
That's
Before we
awesome.
jump off, and thank you so much for all of your details and the clarity of your story. It was so fun chatting with you and walking through that with you. But I love to end with your favorite advice for moms and for dads.
I guess like surrender, like every part of pregnancy, birth, taking care of small children, it's all about like letting go. And like, we want to like make it just so imperfect, but like, it doesn't always end up that way. And children are not perfect and people are not perfect. Like, none of us are. So I would just say, like, just in this day and age where like everybody sees everything as like this glamorous, awesome, perfect thing on the internet, like, just understand that like it's not, nothing is perfect, and do your best to just surrender to it, accept it, and like welcome that too. Like, welcome the fact that it's something a little chaotic and different than you're used to, and then try and understand the parts of you that have a tough time with it, you know? I guess that's it. Surrender.
I love that. And then how about for dads? If you could say something to dads that are listening now.
I guess just give grace. You know, women are, I mean, it's like, it's the best thing that my husband has done for me is just be really patient with your partner, understand that it's a beast. Like, getting pregnant in general, having a baby, raising babies, like, it's a lot and it's a big change. It's a huge lifestyle change, and just give grace and, like, yeah, just with each other, both of you. Like, don't just, it's not just about the woman, but like, also have grace on the other side too, because it's a big change for everyone. So give grace and forgive.
All good advice. I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being here with me today and so much for sharing your story and your strength. I greatly appreciate it.
That was fun. Thank you.